So you're thinking about moving to Portland, Oregon, and you're curious, what is the cost of living really like in Portland? We all know that many of the West Coast cities often are more expensive to live in, but how does Portland, Oregon really compare? Today, we're going to talk all about that and more, and it all starts right now. Welcome back to the channel, or welcome to the channel if it is your first time. My name is Jared, and as much as I enjoy making these videos, more than anything, I love helping people with the buying and selling process as a licensed real estate agent here in the state of Oregon. And if I can be of any assistance to you in any way, my information is right here, and I would love to hear from you. And if you're enjoying these videos and would like to see more of them, be sure to like, subscribe, and tap the bell for notifications so you don't miss any updates on what it's like to live in the Portland metro. So right off the bat, I think it's important to look at how Portland compares to the other major metros here on the West Coast. So we all know that coastal cities often have an extra price tag, higher price tag attached to it. And the West Coast is, I think, a leading example of what that looks like. As you look at the cities here on the West Coast, they have, a different expectation as far as how much money it costs to buy the average home. So in the Portland metro, the average home prices are often around $550,000 to $600,000. Now, if you're coming from the middle of America, that's definitely going to be higher. But if you compare that to Seattle, Seattle is nearly 900,000. The Bay Area, we all know the story there, is about $1 million to $1.5 million. And then if you get down to the Los Angeles area, you're looking at 900,000 to $1 million, depending on how close to the water you are. And then in San Diego, just south of that, you're looking at 1.1 million as the average home price in those metros. And so when you look at Portland compared to all those, Portland is absolutely outstanding in a very positive way, because you have, an average home cost that overall correlates to the average expected median income. And I'll get into that a little bit later. But when you think about it, Portland is by far and away the most affordable major market on the West Coast. And compared to the numbers I just listed, it's really not even close. And what does that get you? That gets you incredible proximity to some of the best food and drink and entertainment in the world. It also gets you really close to recreation. When you think about how close you are to the Oregon coast, to get out to Cannon Beach is about 90 minutes or less, depending on what part of the Portland metro you're in. And that is one of the most iconic beaches in the whole world, especially when you consider the whole country. And then to the east, you have Mount Hood that, for many months of the fall, winter, and early spring, you have world-class skiing and snowboarding and other winter activities that you can do. And depending on the snow season, this was a rough one. We didn't get as much as we usually do, but on a good snow season, there's actually snow up on Mount Hood year round. And so you could, in theory, go skiing one day at the beginning of the day and be surfing or put your feet in the water at Cannon Beach all in the same day if you're really feeling up to it. So we just have access to some of the best recreation that you could possibly imagine living in the Pacific Northwest, and in Portland in particular. You're also really close to a lot of water sources like the Willamette River. There's various lakes around the area for recreation. And then of course you have the Willamette Valley, which contains some of the best wineries in the country. And so for a little over $500,000 for your average home price, you get, it's not as populated, but you still get a major West Coast city with major city draws for a fraction of the cost when you compare it to the other West Coast cities in the United States. So let's break down some numbers. Regarding affordability, what it's like to actually purchase a home here and then to afford that mortgage every month. Let's assume some of the numbers. So the median income for a household here in the Portland metro is $128,000. So that would probably assume at least, two individuals earning significant incomes, all in one household, and then purchasing one home and having one mortgage. So if the average home price right now in the Portland metro is around $565,000, and you assume 20% down and a 30-year fixed mortgage at the average interest rate today, which is about 6.5%, it's estimated that that household earning $128,000 could afford 95% of the mortgage payment every month. Now, when I say 95% of that mortgage payment, it's just indicating that the ability for that household to afford the mortgage is nearly there, or maybe just slightly below. You would definitely feel it living out here in the Portland metro, you would say, hey, the mortgage does feel maybe just a little high, but as far as it is compared to what the median income is of that household, as far as what people can afford, it's pretty much right on the money. So we are all feeling the aches of affordability in our current market, especially post high inflation. All got used to those really low interest rates, and now we're experiencing interest rates, north of 6% for the last several years. It can definitely feel like a strain. There are different strategies that people can use to get that rate down, like seller concessions are a very popular way of helping buy down your interest rate so that 6.5% turns into a 6% or lower very quickly, and that makes things more affordable. It really just depends on your strategy. But Portland, the thesis statement here is that Portland is kind of right on the money when it comes to the expectation of what you're earning compared to the expectation of what you are paying every month for your mortgage. So let's move on. So another aspect of living in Portland is that you're living in the state of Oregon, which is famous for not having a sales tax. And so that's great. When you go to the store for anything, the price you see is the price you pay. You're not really having to navigate or do the calculations of what percentage of tax am I going to pay on this particular purchase. And that really frees you up to be able to budget and shop freely, knowing that when you go to pay, you are going to be paying what you saw. On the other hand, Oregon does have an income tax, a state income tax. And for some, it can be considered a little high. For a lot of the average, earners out there, it's going to probably be somewhere between like 7 and 9% state, not considering what your federal could be. And so let's say you're earning about $100,000. The state and federal combined might be closer to 30% or so of your income. Just really depends on what you do and also how you do your taxes, different deductions and all that. I am definitely not versed in any sort of tax advice, and I do not offer that. But I can say that you could probably expect about a quarter to 30% of your income to be going to the state and government and federal government if you're earning around $100,000. And so for some, that can definitely be a big bite out of your income. I don't know who wouldn't consider that to be a significant portion. But also the question is what you're receiving on the other end of that. And one of the things that makes things more affordable out here is the fact that we don't have sales tax, which is great. And because we're also one of the smaller West Coast markets, it means that we have some cheaper entertainment, more accessible recreation. And so the ways that people spend their money out here look a little bit different compared to what it's like to, say, live in New York City or LA, where those cities are very much the focus of why you move there and why you pay to live there. Where Portland, there's plenty to pay for and enjoy within the city, but a big attraction is what you can do outside of the city. And Portland allows you to be close to all of it. Another aspect of taxes around here is property taxes. The Portland Metro does have varying property tax rates, anywhere from 0.84% to 1.08%, with Washington County of the three counties being on the lower end, Clackamas being a little bit in the middle, and Multnomah County being at the top. And that makes sense when you consider what areas of the city that people are living in, where Clackamas County and Washington County, you have areas like West Lynn, Oregon City, and Lake Oswego. Washington County, you have Beaverton and Hillsborough. And then, of course, Multnomah County is going to have Portland and Gresham and Troutdale and those communities. And so what that means is, like, if you're coming from maybe more of the middle of the country or just away from a major city, your property taxes coming to Portland are going to feel, it's going to definitely be a jump. But you got to remember that average home price is just a little bit above $500,000. Compare that to places like Seattle and LA and the Bay Area. It's that percentage is based off assessed property value. And so when you consider the home values here compared to other areas, it really checks out as an affordable option. So transportation costs here in the Portland Metro, what is that like? So being on the West Coast, gas prices are often, I would say, at least $1 or more ahead of the national average. Although lately I'm recording this in the middle of 2026, and there are geopolitical events going on that are pushing gas prices up. And I'd say, the average in the country is nearing $4. And often here in the Portland Metro, you're looking at around $5. But throughout the metro area, there are plenty of more affordable options that might, I've seen rates, at $4.75. Not too far ahead of the national average, but once you get into Portland proper, you're definitely going to see gas prices, I'd say $1 ahead of the national average. But Portland does have a couple of alternatives. We have a really good bus system. TriMet runs that. We also have Max Light Rail, and the passes that you can get for that on average, per month are very affordable when you consider the alternative and what you'd be paying for gas. And then you also can consider that we're also a very bike-friendly city. So if you're living in Portland proper specifically, the option to commute with a bike is absolutely possible and a very popular way that people get around, especially during the nicer weather days. But quite frankly, people have no problem biking around in Portland in the rain. It's just kind of the culture and what people do here. But if you're committed to that, then the cost of gas and transportation is really not an issue. So as far as groceries and getting those essential items out here, we're basically average, for most of the country. When you consider, some specialty items are maybe going to be a little bit more expensive just by nature of being on the West Coast. But when it comes to where you're getting your groceries, that's really what is going to shape, what that grocery bill is like. So maybe on the more lower average end, you have places like Winco, you have Safeway and Albertsons. We don't have anything like Aldi's out here, but Fred Meyer is our Kroger, and that's definitely more middle of the road to the affordable option. That's where many, many people go and get their groceries throughout the Portland metro area. And then on the higher end, you're going to have places like New Seasons or Whole Foods, or you might have places like Market of Choice, which includes a lot of organic items, a lot of local homegrown items that people love. And so when it comes to groceries, it's really just going to depend on what store you like to shop at, what items you're looking for, your health lifestyle, all of that. So as far as utility cost goes here, the major one, power, how does Portland shape up? So nationally, we're right about average. So the average kilowatt hour in the country is around 20 cents per kilowatt hour. And here it's about 19 cents per kilowatt hour. So you're getting a little bit of a win, but there's also a lot of incentives that you can tap into when it comes to things like solar or energy efficient heat pumps. There's a lot of different ways that you can ensure that you're saving on your utility bills. We have been seeing some increases with the cost of creating power and other incentives and things that the local power company is needing to take care of. So we are seeing some rate increases within the Portland Metro. But again, there are a lot of opportunities, especially if you're a homeowner, to tap into things like solar power that is going to help your utility bill be much more affordable. So there's a lot more that we could talk about in regards to affordability. These are the core ones that really, I think, reflect how Portland is perceived in regards to affordability, how it's perceived today, but also how it will probably be perceived well into the future. So I'm going to stick to these items today, but is there anything else you would like me to talk about or address? Feel free to comment below. I would love to read the comments and respond to you. And of course, if I can be of any help in any way regarding the buying and selling process, I'd love to get in contact and chat with you. My info is right here. And like I said, if you've been enjoying these videos, please remember to like, subscribe, and tap the bell for notifications so you don't miss a thing. So this has been the cost of living here in Portland. Hope this was helpful, and I will see you on the next one.